They say hard work never goes unnoticed. Our next guest is a testament to that, right? His name's Taz Aldeek. Taz is 29 years of age, and he's been in the news this week because he admitted to being knocked back not 10, not 20, not 50, not 70, not 80, but 100 times when it came to applying for a job.
And that's despite having 3 degrees, as well as a master's, and meant that Taz ended up spending 18 months on benefits before he finally secured his dream of becoming a barrister. And you could have quite easily given up, couldn't you?
I wanted to bring you back to my old high school because this is where my story begins. It was a state school, it was a good state school, but for me, I actually struggled quite a lot with my studies when I was younger. I wasn't the brightest guy in the room, I actually needed to work really hard, and I just managed to scrape the grades that I needed to get into law school when I was applying through UCAS. Having said that, when I got my offer to study law at the University of Sheffield, honestly, I was over the moon, and Sheffield would become my home for the next 4 years. As a student, I tried my very best to juggle an active social life with my studies, the late night library sessions, but before I knew it, graduation came round and I left university with no legal experience or direction. I started out applying to chambers to explore the barrister world, and that really didn't go so well. I ended up receiving a letter basically saying, don't waste any more time applying. I wasn't cut from the cloth to be a barrister apparently. But I knew I needed to get something on my CV. I decided to take a job as a paralegal for a commercial law firm in Manchester, but I realised pretty quick it wasn't for me, so I left. I volunteered at Manchester Crown Court, and I was bitten by the crime bug. Next thing I know, I'm on a one-way flight to New Orleans for 4 months to intern at a death row office. Flying home, I decided I was going to commit to being a criminal barrister, but I really needed the funds to make it possible, so I applied for a scholarship and managed to secure a full ride from Lincoln's Inn. With the funds that I secured, I applied to do the bar course, secured a place at BPP University Manchester. I remember turning up on my first day of the bar course and I was met with a wheelie bin of books that I needed to shuttle back to my car, and I knew there and then this was going to be one rough year. The highlight of the week for me was heading into Nero for a caramel waffle and my Americano while I sat there ruminating on all the work that I had to do. And once a week, I treat myself to my favourite burrito place in Manchester before the misery of the late night evening library session kicked in, where it was just me, this meaty book, and a lot of silence. And most of my free time was spent travelling down to London every month or so to complete one of my 12 qualifying sessions, or as they're otherwise known, the barristers qualifying dinners. For me, the dinners were one of the coolest parts of the year. I'm from the north originally, so I wasn't used to going down, seeing the big smoke, seeing the buzz. And it was just a lot of fun, heading to Lincoln's Inn in Hogwarts-like settings, having a fine dining experience, networking with barristers and judges over a few glasses of port. There were a lot of highs and lows on the course, a lot of sink or swim moments, and when I managed to get through to the end and I was called to the Bar of England and Wales and I put my wig on my dad's head, it was really a special day I'll never forget. After the ceremony, that cloud nine feeling burst pretty quickly after I looked at my student finance debt, and at the time it was COVID, the country was in lockdown, and the course had just taken so much out of me, physically, financially, emotionally, and I was just in a horrible place, sending out application after application. Nothing was coming back, and before I knew it, my money had dried up and I was actually signing on for government benefits, and it felt like a hard pill to swallow. And then it's crazy because from being at one of my lowest moments, things just started falling into place. After more than a year on benefits being skin, I'd finally managed to secure a job with the ICO, and things just went from strength to strength. I found out I got an offer for pupillage from the Crown Prosecution Service, which meant I was going to qualify as a criminal barrister, which I'd been trying to do for the past 5 years. All that was left to do was to head on back down to London, go over to Ede and Ravenscroft for my wig and gown. This was a traditional rite of passage for British barristers to get their measurements for their wig and gown. I didn't want to buy it if I hadn't secured pupillage because it was going to be quite a lot of money, but when I had my offer in hand, it just felt really good walking through knowing that all these years of visualising this moment had finally come to fruition. After browsing around for a little bit, I picked out my tunic shirt, collar and studs and went to go and get my measurements taken. All I needed to do was find the perfect wig that's going to fit this melon-sized head and the right gown to finish the look. And when I had my wig and gown on for the very first time and I was heading over to the mirror to see myself in the uniform, my uniform, all I could think about was the past 10 years of sacrifice and hard work with no guarantees, was the fact that I wasn't meant to be here. I was thinking about that letter when I was looking at myself in the mirror thinking, I have made it. What a moment it was. I signed my name in the book, I picked up a Lincoln's Inn sigil and I headed over to the till to settle a big ass bill, and I remember walking out just feeling grateful. I decided to share my story with the lawyer and it just blew up and went viral, and I couldn't believe the response. I never thought I'd see the day where my face was in the national newspaper, let alone be doing my TV debut with Eamon Holmes. It's been one hell of a ride, and you know what? For what it's worth, with all the ups and downs along the way, I wouldn't change a thing, because it's all part of the aspiring lawyer's journey.
Thanks for passing our little audition today.
Yeah,
You're on a roll, mate. You're on a roll. Thank you very much today. God bless. Thank you.